Alright, are you ready? Because I'm jumping into Blue Beetle full spoiler discussion. Fair warning, spoiler discussion. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to jump into it full throttle. If you like the non-spoiler, I'll put a link up top. I'm kind of going to be all over the place because something's going to lead into another thing into another thing, and that's kind of how I work. So there's your disclosure for that as well. But let's start from the jump. I mean, the opening credits, opening scene is seeing a multitude of scarabs, which I thought was great because you see the blue scarab, which is Blue Beetle, but then you see the relative scarabs flying through space looking like lantern rings, which is a great reference to the comics and a great reference to the reason they were created in the first place by the Reach. But I thought it was neat that you see them all, so it kind of leads or foreshadows to the possible future of him having to deal with other scarab hosts that come here trying to figure out what's going on with this scarab, being that it's damaged, which you see again in these opening credits when it flies straight through a planet, which is the reason it allows Jaime to actually be symbiotic while still maintaining a certain level of control versus it taking complete control like it's supposed to and it does with others, and then the Reach takes over, decimating a planet and then coming in and being like, we invaded, we won kind of thing. I say that because you get your reference throughout the movie to Dan Garrett, then Dan Garrett to Ted Kord, which is, it's literally kind of the lineage, and then Ted Kord to now Jaime Reyes. In the whole movie, they talk about Ted Kord because he's missing, but they also make it seem like he's dead because he's been gone for a good little bit now. And you're not sure what happened to him, right? You play that, but then I jump to the end credits scene, the first one, because I'm already on Kord, or Ted, I should say. See this message activating his HQ, his bunker, his bug cave, But it's basically him speaking, saying, look, if you get this or whoever activated my computer, please tell my daughter I'm alive. Please tell my daughter Ted Kord is alive. Which makes me think one of two things. One, he's in the future with Booster Gold, his bestie, and he got trapped there somehow, and he's trying to figure it out, which would make sense to me with the Booster Gold show announced in the DCU, and then this technically being connected, but not entirely, at least connected enough to where maybe that's when he comes back, and that's how he gets back from the future with Booster Gold, and that's how Booster Gold ends up here, and that could lead into the future. That's kind of the funner. I mean, it's still tragic because he was missing, and his pobrecita, his daughter, tú sabes. But it's the funner version. My other theory is the fact that since he was so obsessed in studying the scarab, he unlocked or did something. And another reason he set those scarab containment decoys all over the world was not just to hide it from his mother, who's straight trying to go back to the military and make weapons and destroy the world almost herself, but to hide it from the Reach, who I think captured him. And he's, they have him held hostage currently. And I think he was just able to get a message out, but that's why he's been missing, because they captured him. But right before they captured him, he put all his decoys just in case they start hunting and searching for the scarab. That's one of my theories. I'm thinking really it's going to be the future one. The Reach one's a little bit darker, but I think it also kind of be an interesting outlet, which also I think easily leads into the storyline of them sending other scarabs to Earth to capture this scarab, to fix it, and then readjust and retake over. I'd love to hear your theories. What do you think? Do you agree with one of mine? I mean, it would be interesting to kind of see the Reach one, because then you can immediately jump into them, and more scarabs will bring him back into the fold. But the one that makes a little bit more sense right off the back is the fact that, because in the comics, Ted Kord and Booster Gold are genuinely friends, because Ted Kord is your funner, happy-go-lucky superhero. He makes jokes. He's not the best superhero. He's your B-lister, but he enjoys it. He has a good time with it. So I think that would be a good combination, especially with Booster Gold's show already coming out. Also want to discuss the scarab a little bit itself, because I think we get a reference to it, at least slightly, in the father spiritual scene, which I'll get to in shortly, is the fact that the scarab isn't straight space tech. And I'm going to say extraterrestrial because we don't like the term aliens. Alien space tech, but it also has in the comics a touch of magic. It's created using mostly technology, but a bit of magic, and that's how they get the scarab, because the scarabs were created to have an easier time invading and conquering other planets, because the Green Lantern Corps was basically putting a stop to that, and they needed some way to backdoor it, so to speak. Speaking about the father, so I gotta be honest, I've seen the movie a couple times now, and I've enjoyed it more so. And the first time and the second time, the part when the father dies makes me very emotional. It hurts the heart, because in the comics he does not die. The dynamic with the family is definitely a bit different in the comics. They're not so involved. They don't even know he is Blue Beetle for a long time, and his mother is always kind of this, he's into something bad, he's doing drugs, he's part of a gay, like she's that, her character in the comics is more like, you're doing something malicious or evil, that's why you won't tell me, what is it, my poor child. And here I like the fact that the family dynamic's a little stronger, it's a little more cohesive, and I love the animals, like their family motto builds the family relationship in a way that I actually really enjoyed. So I actually like that change. that they're more supportive of him, and the fact that they know from the jump that he is Blue Beetle. Now that he's technically an adult versus being like a high schooler, he's a college graduate from Gotham Law. I like that aspect, so I really like that change. But getting back to the father, so when he died, it hurt my heart. Okay, but I say that because later on, when Jaime has that spiritual connection to him, when his father, like, tells him, "Hey, Flaco, look, this is not your time. You're meant for more. Like, I found my purpose. My purpose is to be here right now to tell you that you have much more to do. And the Scarab needs you, and you need it. Y'all need to finish this connection and be the hero you're meant to be. Be that person." So that scene was beautiful. That scene is like a bit of a touch and kind of letting us know that the Scarab itself has magical capabilities. It's not like immensely, like, boy's not going to be John Constantine in this joint, or, Zatanna, anything like that. Enjoyed it more my second viewing, and then ended up watching it a third time. I just enjoyed it more, and there's things I really loved about the movie. Part of it is definitely the family dynamic, but I also love the fact that the suit is a combination of practical and CG, and it looks beautiful. And we get references to a multitude of guns and lore. I mean, we get a very in-your-face Cloud Sword from Final Fantasy, which is dope. I deadass did not believe que lo mire. I was like, that's not it. And then on the second one, I was like, oh my god, it is! Korg Industry from Fifth Element's hand cannon weapon that a real killer would ask what the little red button does. And then, like, I love the Fifth Element, but that's a separate conversation. But the fact that I saw it, and like the first time I watched this movie, I was like, that looked like the Fifth Element Korg Industries weapon. Like, there's no way. And watching it again, I was like, oh my god, it is. So I was like ecstatic. I love the fact that they commit to his capabilities and the way you see the different weapons, the combos, which also felt like the game and Injustice. So it definitely feels like they pulled imagery and pieces from a lot, but they also combined the Brother Eye story and the Omac story. And I think it worked well. Because, I mean, Karbac is a Dan Garrett and then becomes a Ted Kord villain in the comics, but it fit well here. Like, it didn't feel like forced, it didn't feel off, it didn't feel like it wasn't mixing. And I also feel like I didn't give enough credit to the visuals, because visuals have been really rough lately. I enjoyed the visuals here. The suits look good, the fights were dope, the Bugmobile was great. Like, all the parts that were definitely CG, it was clean and I enjoyed it. Like, I don't remember watching the movie and be like, that's rough or anything like that anytime I've seen it. So as this movie by itself currently stands, I think it's a really, really damn good movie, and I hope more people watch it and give it a chance. I mean, I know that originally the family's from El Paso, and it didn't even click until the second viewing. The fact that they live on El Paso Street, because here they switched it up to Palmera City, which is basically Florida, because they call it the Keys, Key West. But in the comics, they're from El Paso, Texas. There was thought put into this. And you can see that. I mean, his Gotham Law hoodie. When you get the skyline shot, you see Ace Chemicals, LexCorp. This movie is a great world builder. Like, if nothing else existed, this movie itself, yes, it references Flash, Superman, Batman. It references the League without question, but in such an ambiguous way that it can go in any direction, which is perfect. Like, this is a great jumping point. And from what I read online, that is the director who actually did that on purpose. So mad kudos and respect to that, because I think that he did a really good job of providing a localized story within a grander world that pre-exists, and you have like directions of it to go with. It has to change from this movie to push it forward, and we know they're pushing it forward. Jaime Reyes is coming back. I'm pretty sure Jenny Cord is coming back. I hope the family comes back, honestly. George Lopez killed it as the crazy Tío. La mala hierba nunca se muera. Like, I loved his little aspect. I love the fact that they gave him that tech savviness, so he wasn't just there for the comedic moments. He actually served a purpose and was a tech savvy character. I mean, he creates El Chapulín. And I love that machine, because when he's like kicking it, that's classic, bro. You just bang on it until it works. And it kicked on. And when he said Chapulín, I was like, I never hit it, and then you see it take over the security guard screens, and you see it playing Chapulín Colorado, which leads to the second end credit scene, which is just a longer footage of El Chapulín Colorado, which was really dope. I thought it was just hilarious and a good reference, because I mean, I've seen that show, like all the references, like Maria del Barrio, like all these hardcore land community growing up references. I was just like, I remember this, I remember that. Like, my mom talked about this, dad talked about that, I watched that. So it was just cool to see like our culture, like growing up, just little things that we've seen referenced and dealt with, just be popped in. Really enjoyed that. Cabezon, baboso, like stuff like that. Just things I use on the regular. And that ends with you hearing him like smacking the machine again and going, that's sexy, which is just a reference to earlier when he first did it. Also, I gotta tell you, I did not know that they had Blue Beetle marketing material in the same stop motion Chapulín Colorado. Why was that not thrown out way more? Because I saw a glimpse of it and it looks beautiful. And lastly, I mean, I said it briefly in my spoiler-free movie review, but the Scarab's voice. I mean, Becky G, I like her. She's talented. I would have been okay if it was just her voice, but they made it sound way too robotic and way too reference Jarvis. They made it sound way too man-made tech AI voice. It's to completely take over its host and then to completely take over the planet it is on. Although the scarab is damaged, it should still have that voice with her. Like, she would have been fine with it if it was felt a little bit more forceful, a little bit more determined versus strictly a AI. It should have sounded more like just a female entity, presence, essence, was a little bit more determined, because too quickly does the scarab, we should kill him, to okay, you're right, we won't kill him. And then it goes to we shouldn't kill him when he's about to end the fight with Olmec, aka Carbox. Like, he was about to do it and the scarab's like, we don't kill, remember? And I was like, ooh, that should have been definitely switched. It should have been one of those moments like the scarab saying, we didn't kill him earlier because you didn't want to. I'm telling you, we need to do it now because look what happened. And Jaime having that moment of, when you were doing the whole download and they got your thing, I saw his past. I don't want to kill him. We won't kill. Like, had that conversation go the other way, I would have preferred that. I mean, it's a simple change. You keep Becky G. I think she's fine. Just give her dialogue and purpose, a little bit more forcefulness, which would be a little hard now just because at the end, it very much is just kind of straight listening and obeying to Jaime, even though in the comics and other material, games and stuff, it is definitely consistent budding situation. Jaime usually wins those arguments because it is damage, but it's a consistent budding situation versus the, okay, you know? But other than that, I really enjoyed it. That's technically fixable. I want to hear thoughts. Is there anything I missed? There's a bunch of references to a lot. But I want to hear thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. Did I miss anything? Do you agree or disagree with any of my theories? I'm excited to see where this character goes, and I really need to just drop it, and I will later this month, excuse me. We're gonna just jump into DCEU versus DCU and what I think is happening and what looks like is happening with the little bit of facts we've gotten so far. But I love chatting with y'all. Let me know comments, questions, concerns, your theories. Do you agree, disagree in the comment section down below. But until next time, stay safe, be well, y con mucho amor. Adios.